What's up? Welcome in. Give yourself that collective pat on the back. You made it to another Friday ahead of another fantastic sports weekend. So much stuff to talk about. So many things going on. We're going to try and get to as many of those as we can. If you're watching along, feel free to follow along, comment along. We'll try and get as many of those up on the screen as we can. As well, you can follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. What a freaking night last night for the old guys. Shout out to the guys in, well, my age range last night. Unbelievable performances across the board. 41-year-old Max Scherzer, 5 2/3. Gives up 2 earned, 5 strikeouts. Blue Jays pound the Mariners. Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old. 4 touchdowns, 2 picks last night. Joe Flacco, 40 years old. All he did last night was throw for a cool 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I told you yesterday that was a bad spot for the Steelers. And yet again, Pittsburgh still has no answer for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think I actually helped Vegas Mac last night. We were talking about some show stuff for the bulk of the fourth quarter of that game, which was freaking wild. So I don't think the full Vegas Mac anger was portrayed on the Steelers. So you're welcome, Vegas Mac. I can't wait till we do trust issues on Tuesday. It's only a matter of time for those of you that have followed the show long enough before Mac goes on one of his absolute meltdown rants on one of his teams. And we all do it. You're watching out there, don't tell me you don't. We all do it. I think I've had a headache for the better part of the last week watching how the Sharks started the season. We've all done it. There's a lot of stuff to get to as far as the NFL goes as well. Definitely check your injury reports. Check your game time decisions this weekend. Start checking them now. Make yourself a list. Check it twice, 3 times, 9 times, whatever. And shout out to our guy, by the way, before I forget. Jared Smith. His desert bets that he posts on his X account, absolutely on freaking fire right now. Had the over last night in the game. Went over. What a freaking game. What Thursday night football. Remember when Thursday night football had about a 2-year stretch where like the games were just like absolute, like, why are you doing this to us games? That's a 3rd straight dog that's won on Thursday night football. If you go back to the Niners game against the Rams when Mac Jones looked like the freaking walking wounded out there. The Niners were 8.5-point dogs, came in, took care of business. The Giants last week against the Eagles. And then last night, the Bengals and the Steelers. And that, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's kind of interesting. I'll get back to the news and notes here, injury-wise, here in a second. It's kind of interesting that Mac asked me that question 2 weeks ago, and without just snapping off the answer like you would, looking at a team that's 1-5 and can't get out of their own way in the Ravens, he asked me if I thought the Ravens were done. And my initial reaction was to just snap out and go, they're 1-5. Of course they're done. See, you get us old guys, you get a little bit wiser as you get older. And I thought about it for a second, and I looked at the Ravens' schedule, and I went, wait, this team's going to get better out of default because they're going to get healthy. They're only 3 games behind the Steelers. And as we've said several times, if we know anything about the AFC North, it is unpredictable as all hell. The only predictable thing about the AFC North is the Browns are terrible. Put that one down, book it. I really hope we get those wind gusts that they're talking about and flying sideways rain in that game between the Dolphins and the Browns, because I think it would be an absolute cinema of garbage football. I love a great game just as much as the next guy. But we talk about it a lot when it comes to golf. You like to see those guys on the tour, hit a shank. It makes you feel normal. I like to see these guys, these world-class athletes, struggle sometimes. It's a nice dichotomy. I knew it wasn't going to be long. They couldn't cover a book. They couldn't cover a cold kid with a blanket. I don't think the Steelers could have covered me last night, Mac. What a night for the old guys, though. And it figures on a day where, normally my two old guys would be on the screen with us here. Shout out to 40-year-olds. What a freaking night, man. If you give me that on Thursday night football every week of the season, hell yeah, sign me up for that. Let's see. Next Thursday, Vikings Chargers. Herbie and Peter are going to log some big-time air miles next week. I have no idea where game day is going, but Pete and Herbie are headed out to the West Coast again. After that, Week 9's Thursday Night Football. Well, sorry. I can only do so much for you here. Week 9's Thursday Night Football game, Ravens and Dolphins. Do you think I'm out of my freaking mind here, or are the Ravens still in this? Let me indulge you for a second before we get into the nuts and bolts of last night. Ravens play the Bears on the 26th. Then they're at the Dolphins. They are at the Vikings. Then they're at the Browns. They're home for the Jets, the Bengals, and the Steelers. Then they're at the Bengals, home for the Patriots. And then they finish at Green Bay and at Pittsburgh. Because what would a season be in the AFC North if the Steelers and the Ravens didn't play each other in the last week or second to last week of the season? I can guarantee you that game is going to be like just an absolute crappy, muddy, rainy, because it just happens every year. I'm telling you, the Ravens aren't out of the North. Again, and I said this the other night when Mac and I were talking about it. It's going to take an effort of all efforts for the Ravens to make up that kind of ground down the stretch. But we've talked about it. We've got a whole season so far up to this point of everybody's just kind of at the midline. Every team that's at the top of the standings has issues, whether they be injuries or they can't stop the run. Buffalo. But what a freaking incredible game last night, man. And we talked about it. The Steelers overhauled. They even talked about it on the broadcast last night. The Steelers overhauled their secondary for this very opponent. For T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. What did they do last night? Higgins and Chase? 22 catches, 257 yards, and 2 touchdowns, bringing their total together in 15 games against the Steelers. 100 receptions, 1,451 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Ugh. My allergies and sinuses today, you're going to have to bear with me here. They're about as effective as the Steelers' defense was last night. Those two guys, Chase and Higgins, averaging 6.7 receptions a game against the Steelers for 97 yards. Almost a touchdown a game. And I thought Herbie brought it up last night on the broadcast. Really, really well put. And again, I don't understand why Kirk Herbstreit gets so much of the hate that he gets. I could listen to Herbstreit break down a game all day long. An incredible football brain on that dude. But like, he was talking about it on a pass that ended up not even being a completion because there was a little bit of a bobble. I mean, that was the thing. Jamar Chase had a couple of catches that didn't even count last night. Otherwise, it could have been way worse. But the timing that Flacco already has, and it's Joe Flacco. He's been around the block a couple of times. But the timing he already has with Chase and Higgins. And the Browns. I am so sorry, Cincinnati. That is about as disrespectful as you can get. My apologies. The Bengals actually had a ground game last night, which is something that they haven't been able to put together. 11 carries for $108 last night for Chase Brown, almost 10 yards a clip, just under. Samaje Perine, 7 carries, 31 yards. That's the thing I think that stands out more than anything. I mean, yeah, I don't think any of us thought they were going to put up the passing numbers they did. The Steelers got gashed. 6.2 yards a carry for the Bengals last night. Offensively, the Steelers, solid. They gashed the Bengals on the ground, which pretty much everybody does, but 7.4 yards a carry for Pittsburgh. Pat Freiermuth, I forgot he was even on the Steelers. 5 catches, $111, 2 touchdowns, the 68-yarder, the backbreaker. Metcalf and Rodgers, down game. They've been in sync, but I mean, hell, 3 catches for 50 yards, 16.7 yards per reception for DK last night. Pittsburgh came into the game second in the league at a +7 turnover margin. They didn't force a turnover last night. In fact, it was the Bengals that were forcing the turnovers last night. It's Thursday night football, man. It's what happens. DJ Turner's playing amazing for the Bengals right now. Absolutely amazing. And when you look at it from a Bengals standpoint now, we talked about where the Ravens are. Billy V checking in. Yeah, there isn't a team in the AFC that I fear their defense right now. If anything, it might be the Chiefs. Because we know how good Steve Spagnuolo is. Chargers defense, looked good out of the gates. Hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks. And as Billy just pointed out, the Ravens, the Bills, the Steelers, defensively, all 3 of them look horrible. Absolutely horrible right now. And if you're the Bengals, you're sitting at 3-4. 2 games behind the Steelers, but now you got the 1 in the pocket with the Steelers. The Bengals are 2-0 in the division. The AFC North could be very compelling when it looks like it should be a Steelers runaway. At least they were put in the position to run away. Don't forget, top of the hour, Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast will be joining me. We'll break down the big matchup in the SEC, one of the 2 big matchups in the SEC, with Alabama and Tennessee. Going forward for the Steelers, their next game is against the Packers. Not in Green Bay, it is in Pittsburgh. Sunday night football game. Then they have the Colts, then they're at the Chargers, and then they get another matchup with the Bengals. They still have the Bills on their schedule, the Ravens twice, the Lions. I mean, we know Aaron Rodgers is the principal owner of the Bears. They play the Bears in there as well in Chicago. I'm sure the people of Chicago will be very happy to see Aaron Rodgers like they always are. But plenty of stuff going on in the NFL. Like I said, make sure you're checking your injury reports. We've had kind of a rash of interesting injuries too. We talked about the whole situation with the Colts. They lose a guy to a broken eye socket. Anthony Richardson in warm-ups the other day, as well as a concussion. Charvarius Ward in warm-ups. We find out today the Dallas Cowboys cornerback Trayvon Diggs is out against the Commanders this weekend after an accident at his house has put him in the concussion protocol. So hopefully all things good there in the long run, but he is going to miss on Sunday. Cowboys should get CeeDee Lamb back on Sunday against a Washington team that they've got their own set of issues right now. For the Titans, you're like, yeah, who cares? It's the Titans. Calvin Ridley is out against New England. Arden Key is also out against New England. The Commanders are going to be without Terry McLaurin in that game against the Cowboys. Also looks like Deebo Samuel might not play against the Cowboys. So now we're in that point of the season where we start to slowly kind of see who's who. And again, I said it yesterday, and I think this is definitely something that's going to play in. you've got a lot of teams that need a lot of help, and we've got a trade deadline on November 4th, about 18 days from now. There's a lot of teams that need stuff. I mean, the Steelers, they said it a few times last night during the broadcast. The Steelers have DK Metcalf and a bunch of tight ends. Now, if you get production like that out of Pat Freiermuth and Washington and Jonnu Smith, shout out Jonnu Smith, got us a touchdown last night, got us a first touchdown last night. That was a great way to start the night last night. Jonnu Smith cleaned up for us last night. Triple option goes 2 for 3 last night. Bengals plus 5.5. Jamar Chase for a touchdown. Weren't able to get the clean sweep with DK Metcalf getting a touchdown. Puka Nacua also out on Sunday for the Rams in London against the Jaguars. Interested to see what happens in that game. Definitely like the under in that game. Love the unders in general in the overseas games. A lot of stuff, man. David Njoku also out this weekend for the Browns with a knee injury. This is that time of the year. Everybody's starting to get dinged up and bruised up and jockeying for position. I think Sunday night, we've got a very, very interesting game on Sunday night. Atlanta brings the number 1 overall defense in the NFL, number 2 overall offense in the NFL, the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL to Santa Clara to take on the 49ers. And I think it's a dangerous spot for the Niners here because of how effectively Atlanta's been able to move the football on the ground with Bijan Robinson, Offensive Player of the Year. It's got to be him or Jonathan Taylor at this point. The 49ers haven't been able to establish a run game. I'm very interested to see what happens Sunday night because with Fred Warner not on the field, that's your anticipator. That's your predictor. That's your guy that's looking, for the run play, sniffing it out ahead of time. That's going to be the interesting thing to see here with the 49ers in how John Lynch approaches the trade deadline. But I'm interested to see how they react in their first game without Fred Warner. Best middle linebacker in football, captain of your defense, the heart and soul of that team. And Atlanta's hot right now. Atlanta on primetime might be one of the better bets in football right now. Raiders Chiefs this weekend. Jets and Panthers is intriguing to me. This Carolina team, man, they're starting to figure it out a little bit. Saints and Browns, Eagles at the Vikings. Giants of Denver. Seeing a lot of people pound the Denver -7 line. And I don't know if I'm buying that. It very well could be, Mac. It's very well could be. This is a dangerous spot, I think, if you're San Francisco. That Atlanta team's starting to put it together. So plenty of stuff to get into there. We'll keep an eye on some other stuff there as well. As far as the college football slate, again, coming up here in just a few minutes, Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast will join me. We'll get specifically into the Alabama-Tennessee game. But we've got 2 top 25 teams in action tonight. Louisville travels to Hard Rock to take on the Miami Hurricanes, the number 2 team in the country. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Big game in the ACC. Miami's played literally 1 time in the last 3 weeks, the beating of Florida State. And Nebraska, number 25 Nebraska, on the road at Minnesota tonight. So 2 big games there. I don't know if I trust Nebraska entirely yet enough to cover a 7.5-point spread on the road at Minnesota. Miami, Louisville, my only hesitation with Miami right now is the lack of games that they've played over the last couple of weeks. And as we've seen on Friday Night Football, that's also a dangerous place for a lot of these teams. I think Miami will be ready. I think they are a wagon. I think they are back. I think Carson Beck he's definitely proved me wrong so far. And one of our top guys that we love on the show, Ruben Bain, as TJ has effectively nicknamed him Ruben Payne for the Hurricanes. I like Miami to cover the 11.5 tonight. I haven't made a move on the Nebraska-Minnesota game yet. We got some good early games tomorrow, too. The way that the schedule goes for college football tomorrow, the way it's spread out, really, really good for the viewer. LSU and Vandy, 9 a.m. Vanderbilt is actually favored in an SEC game for the first time in a long-ass time. Vandy's a 1.5-point favorite over LSU. I think that's interesting. A lot of people leaning on the over there, 47.5. I don't know if I love the over in that game because the one reason that LSU is number 10 has not been because of their offense. It's been because of their defense. Can Pavia and the Commodores move the football tomorrow on LSU? Again, that's a 9 o'clock kickoff time. Georgia Tech, another team that is not getting a lot of attention right now. They've got a tricky one at Wallace Wade. They're on the road to take on Duke, also a 9 a.m. West Coast kickoff. Oklahoma, they've got the vaunted 9:45 a.m. kickoff at Williams-Brice in South Carolina. This is that time of the year, mid to late October and November, when South Carolina typically becomes a very tough team to play, especially with that kind of goofy early kickoff in Columbia. Ohio State, Wisconsin, they're part of the Saturday that we gave out yesterday. That number has actually moved up to 25.5 now from 24.5 in favor of the Buckeyes. Hopefully yesterday you were listening and you got it yesterday. Because again, my hesitation there is not that Ohio State's going to lose the game to Wisconsin. Wisconsin couldn't score on 5th Street with a fistful of 50s right now. My concern with that spread is Ohio State beats them 24-0 and we don't cover the spread. I don't think Wisconsin can score on Ohio State. Michigan State, Indiana, also in that noon 30 window. That's right. Mac's big spread game this week. He said it. I said it. Lay the points with the Buckeyes. I just hope you got it yesterday because it's creeping higher to a point where I think you'd be uncomfortable with it. Michigan State, Indiana was also part of the Saturday yesterday, over 52.5. That total has actually dropped down to 48.5 now. Tonight on our social channels, a Big Mac kickoff game, Ole Miss and Georgia. That number's still at 7.5 in favor of Georgia. That was another one on the Saturday yesterday. Take the touchdown and the hook with Ole Miss. That's how we're playing it. Texas Tech and Arizona State. Billy V will be in the building at Mountain America Stadium, one of our super fans. Vegas Mac will be in the building at Mountain America Stadium. See if you can find his bald head somewhere in that sea of maroon or yellow or whatever the color theme is for tomorrow's game. Maybe he'll have a sticker for you. Everybody likes stickers. Oregon looking to bounce back. They're at Rutgers. 17.5-point favorites in Piscataway. Tennessee and Bama. Again, we're going to talk about that game here in just a few minutes with Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast. USC Notre Dame, that's my feature game tomorrow. Trojans haven't won in South Bend since October of 2011. Matt Barkley was under center for the Trojans the last time they won at Notre Dame. Notre Dame comes into that game starting to click offensively a little bit, and we know Jeremiah Love, best running back in college football. Jadarian Price would be the best running back in college football on a lot of teams if he wasn't playing at Notre Dame. The two of those guys combined, 15 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards on the ground this year. USC comes in with the second overall offense in the country, the third overall scoring offense in the country, and Jaden Mayava is playing like a superstar. And if you haven't seen Makai Lemon play yet, tomorrow or Saturday, tomorrow. I don't even know what freaking day it is. That's a game you're going to want to watch because against Notre Dame's secondary, and you've got one of the better wide receivers in the country that nobody's talking about, Makai Lemon. Missouri finally has to play a road game tomorrow. Congrats, Mizzou. It's the middle of October. They're at Auburn. The Holy War tomorrow night. This will be the after dark game. Utah and BYU. Utah is actually a 3.5-point favorite at BYU. I like that. You're going to give me BYU as a home dog in that game? And again, I'm telling you, I think people are sleeping on BYU. The Retzlaff situation kind of went down real late. Bear Bachmeier in. What a freaking name for he should be a linebacker with that name, but he's having a really good year under center for BYU. And BYU kind of got a late start in getting the offense in sync with him. And their defense, this is a whole different BYU defense than we're used to seeing. Cincinnati at Boone Pickens tomorrow night at 5 o'clock on the West Coast, too. Cincinnati at Oklahoma State. We know that situation. The biggest question of the weekend is, by the time that we join you again in this format, is on Tuesday night at 5:30. Do Billy Napier and Luke Fickell still have jobs? I can tell you right now, I'm telling you, the guys weren't so sure. BYU will make an appearance in the Mac-12 next week because they're going to beat Utah. Billy Napier is not going to be the head coach at Florida as of Monday morning, win or lose. You can't wait any longer for that. But that's enough of me. Let's talk some SEC football. We got two huge ones tomorrow. One specifically. Joining me now, our friend, our pal, hopefully with pants on, Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast. What's up, brother?
You can't see the bottom, so the pants is fine.
Don't need to see the bottom. I'm good. How are you, sir?
Oh, man. I think, like, it's been a day. I rolled in here about 5 minutes ago from work, so, hey, at least we're done for the day.
Look at guy gets off of work early to spend some time with us, man.
Yes.
Luke Fickell, Billy Napier. Are they
can't finish today?
Yep, you can't. I got an interview to do. Luke Fickell, Billy Napier. Are they both unemployed as of Monday morning?
And who do y'all have? Mississippi. Ooh, you can't lose that game. I mean, you almost have to win by 50, I guess, if you're Napier to save your job. What is Mississippi? Fickell, I feel like should have been gone a while ago. I think it's a little too up and down. They changed what they were doing, then they went back to what they were doing before. Like, okay, guys, this experiment didn't work out. You're falling farther and farther behind in the Big Ten. Napier's just, what has he been, dead man walking for a while? They had the Texas win that bought him a reprieve for a moment. So I'll say I kind of agree with you that Napier, it's time for him to go. And if Mississippi State wins, he'll be fired before the game clock hits 0. Fickell, they
go down early. He might get fired at halftime.
I would not be surprised to not see him on the sideline. Fickell's an interesting one. I think it's way past time for him to go.
Vegas Max checking in. He's following your theory at the ASU Texas Tech game tomorrow.
Look, as fans, you have to do what you can do, right? And if that's it, then that's all you got. Is Mac at home? Because I'd be checking my mailbox about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
Oh, no, he's working hard right now. There you go, Mac. Check your mailbox. Let's get into the big one, though. It is the third Saturday in October. It is Alabama, Tennessee. Are you going to the game?
No, I am not. It's interesting enough. On the way over here, I got a ticket to the Ole Miss and Georgia game. And when I say on the way over here, like 30 minutes ago. So it's like, I will go home for lunch. There you go, Mac. If I did, I would go to that one, but I'm not going to the Tennessee anyways. This is what a great uncle I am. My niece is with us this weekend, and my wife had a class, so she has to go. I would drop my niece back off early to go to the Ole Miss Georgia game. I said, I'll just drop you off on the way. You can go back to the house.
Hey, it's not a bad plan, man.
But no, not going to the Tennessee one. I feel like this is definitely a heart attack game. If I did go, I've asked Raj if he wants to live stream the fourth quarter. He's like, not if it's close. So that tells you the feelings on this side, man. It's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. You got Bama brings in the number 2 pass defense in the SEC. Tennessee brings in the worst pass defense in the SEC. And we've talked about the maturation. I know you guys have talked about this with your audience a lot. The maturation of Ty Simpson and the evolution of Ty Simpson. Jam Miller doesn't sound like he's going to play.
No,
have you guys heard anything new?
Yeah, upgraded to probable. So we're actually thinking he is going to play. You know how it is with concussions, man. Depends on who your doctor is and how much everybody cares, I guess. What game was that where we watched? Oh, the Giants and Jackson Dart, right? Yeah. It's not really a concussion. Get him back out. You know what I mean? So it's a gray area.
Yeah, I can't see KDB going into the injury tent and pitching a fit like Brian Daboll did, but I don't know what to make of this Tennessee team. We know they can score points. That's not a question. Chris Brazel's having a fantastic year. I just don't know if Tennessee's got the horses to slow down the passing attack from Bama, especially with where Ty Simpson has kind of evolved his game to.
Right. And I think that's it. I feel like we have the best receiving core SEC for sure. And, maybe we're neck and neck with or maybe a step behind the Ohio State in the country. And I know Texas A&M probably has an argument too as well on some of the teams I'm missing. But I don't know that they can slow us down enough. Now, on their side, and I'll even give them some kudos here. I know our pass defense is great, but like all our SEC games have been come against predominantly run-oriented teams that when we force to pass are not as proficient as other teams. So this is the first real test in that area. You can honestly look at our schedule and say none of these teams had a great passer on it. Or, like you said, Brazel, like a wide receiver as good as that. And Alabama has given up 5 touchdowns to the same guy in the game against Tennessee before. So you see where all this is going. But I would be more worried about this game if it was at Tennessee, to be honest. I'm still nervous about this game. And I know you guys always do lines. I would never take Alabama minus 8.5 or wherever it's ended up, wherever it's sliding up and down to. But I feel confident enough. If you had to get a stop from one team, I feel like Alabama will get a stop on Tennessee versus Tennessee getting a stop on Alabama at a crucial time.
Yeah, I think it's a game where we're going to see both secondaries extremely tested. And
I agree.
For Tennessee, they're no Jermon McCoy, no Ricky Gibson, so their 2 star cornerbacks both out. The Vols already allow the most passing yards in the league, and now you get Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. Where are you at, and what are you guys hearing amongst your spaces on Ryan Williams? He's had kind of a interesting year, let's just put it that way.
Yes. And then the last game, he was clearly banged up. I think he got banged up at the end of Vandy, maybe. And so for Mizzou, he was already banged up, and he popped up on the injury report in the middle. And it's not like the NFL where you get more details. It's just like Ryan Williams is questionable. And you're like, when was he like? What were the questions? Like, what transpired to get us to this point? You just kind of jump in. So there's that. Yeah. And then the reliability factor. I mean, he's still our most explosive, our most big play receiver. And I think he opens up other things. But having said that, once we get in the red zone, and even specifically, if we're 10 yards and in, I want Bernard, Brooks, and Horton on the field as our best, biggest, and most physical and sure-handed guy. So it's just kind of like this is a guy who, everybody was like, is Jeremiah Smith the best in the country? Is Ryan Williams number 2? And now he's not even, number 1 on his own team. But at the same time, that game-breaking ability is there if he gets the hands on. He tracks the ball well in the air still. I think some of his problem is when the ball's coming, I'm already trying to figure out how to score versus let me just get the ball first, Right. So still great, but yeah, I don't think any of us honestly knows at times what's going on with him.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because it's gonna be a test of the Bama offensive line against that Tennessee front. Tennessee's forced 4 fumbles, recovered 3, and Alabama's only turned the ball over just twice the entire season, the 3rd fewest in the country. So can the Vols get in there and create havoc? They're 2nd in the country in sacks, 3rd in the SEC in takeaways. And now you've got Alabama on the other side that's not going to move a ball. Do you have concerns on the Bama line against Tennessee's front?
Always. Always. And I think, you hate that it's always coming down to like you're picking on one side or one person, but Formby has on the right side has just been, a disaster. And it's always high profile disasters because we looked at the last game in the PFF grades. He actually graded out better than Michael Carroll, right? But you can't tell a single fan that, when you have a guy come around your side, sack the quarterback, and you're going there like, hey, who's going to get that guy? The optics of it, no matter what your grades say, it looks terrible. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a change there. The running backs weren't picking up the blitz well in the last game, not even Jam, which is one of his strengths over other guys, so that's a surprise as well. And then you're starting to wonder, is the attrition getting to you? Emotional Georgia game, emotional Vandy game, which is the one that got you last year, and then traveling to a Mizzou team that's waiting for you. Is all that starting to chip and wear at you or whatever? So I think all that plays in, and then specifically with the line as well. And then this line rotation. Can we just get 5 guys that we trust and put them out there versus trying to give everybody on the roster a snap, So, I definitely have concerns. If Ty is upright, I feel like he's the best in the country, minimum, top 5, top 3, but best in the country if he has time. We can't have him on his back, especially not for poor line play, Make them make a great play to get to you, not I just came around the edge and there was Ty. You know what I mean? Like, make him work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another interesting thing I could see happening in this game, and I know just from jumping into your guys' shows and in your space a bunch of the time when you guys are doing your lives on Saturdays and stuff, Talty and Gilbert. This game could come down to the leg of one of those two guys. How confident are you at home if the game is on Talty's foot?
So last night we were watching one of our buddies, and they gave our special teams.
I know that headache. I know that headache.
And
that you're rubbing.
I mean, this is what I feel like. So when you're watching the game and your team is driving and they put up the little green line, this is field goal range. I'm like, for who though? Like, not for us, right? If it's 40 and under, I feel a little bit better. 30, 35. I'm like, okay, I think we can get this. If it's 40 and a half, I'm like, we're missing. Just that tells you exactly where my confidence. Move the green, and I feel like it affects your play calling because if it's 3rd and 8, you're like, all right, well, instead of even just getting the first down, we can't just throw this one away. I need at least 4 yards. You know what I mean? These are bigger decisions that affect everything else. So the rubbing of the head, the taking off the hat, the changing clothes, the kicker definitely affects all of these things. Great. My confidence level is
you've just low. Given Vegas Mac a million ideas for what to do tomorrow at ASU Texas Tech. Bama is in this weird spot here, and we talked about the gauntlet that went from the Georgia to Vandy to Mizzou to this Tennessee game. And a lot of people are like, they get the Tennessee game, they're all right. No, it doesn't get any easier. They got a noon 30 kickoff on the West Coast time, 3:30 kickoff at South Carolina the next week. Then LSU, then Oklahoma. I mean, it's not getting easier.
We get the bye week before LSU, though, so that's the only saving grace if you can get through South Carolina. And South Carolina hasn't looked as good. But, yes, you add up all those games, like I said before, you throw in Tennessee, and now you're getting to the South Carolina game. And you know how this is, Mike. Half the guys are like, dude, if we could just get through this game, we get a week off. Half of them are already in that week off. You know what I mean? Time. So the South Carolina, which was – when we had started the season, there's 3 games, road games we were worried about: Georgia, South Carolina, and Auburn, which tells you Missouri wasn't even on that list, and we won by 3. So South Carolina still has to rear its head. It takes a lot out of you, I think, like you said. And you know how kids are. We say, hey, take a game by game, but look at us. We're looking at the whole schedule. You think they don't do the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's take a peek around the rest of the SEC tomorrow. LSU Vandy. Do the Doors pull off the upset? They're at home. They're favored. The Doors are favored.
Did you see? Think you would see that day. Vandy favored over LSU.
Vandy favored over anybody. I didn't think we'd see that day.
This is true. I texted my buddy, the guy, Corey Burton, who was on our show. I said, are y'all pulling it off this weekend? He said, yes. I mean, we haven't heard from my LSU friend yet. I have to make my pick on this game by tomorrow. I might. There's two ways I'll go about it. Just go with what Corey said, pick Vandy, or wait until Raj makes his pick tonight and just pick the opposite. What I call an anti-Raj pick. When I do it first, he calls it an anti-Herb pick. But I mean, it's going to be a fun one, right? I think it's going to be low scoring. I think the defenses will come to play. LSU, Nussmeier's been a letdown for sure. But do you think he's hurt? I mean,
something's not right.
So
I think the biggest thing with LSU, and we've talked about it a few times on our program, is the lack of a running game for LSU this year has absolutely destroyed that offense. But that defense is so damn good. They're doing the opposite of what Florida's done this year. Really good defense. They just have to get something out of the offense, and we're back to rage coloring with crayons for Billy Napier right now. So I think that for me with LSU, that's the biggest thing. I just don't know. I don't know if Pavia and the offense for the Doors are going to be able to move the ball enough to score enough points to win this game. That's my thing. I mean, it's not that LSU's offense is going to blow the doors off of Vandy. It's can Vandy score 24 points? Because it's probably going to take somewhere around there to win that game.
I think so, too. Where I would counter on that one would be if I had a quarterback that I needed to make an off-script play, I think it's Pavia before it's Nuss. And I think if both defenses come to play and I need something stupid that I didn't draw up, that he dodged two guys and got over and flipped it to somebody, I think that's Pavia before it's Nuss. But again, I honestly might just wait until Raj makes his pick and go with the opposite because it is.
It's a sound strategy. Oklahoma, South Carolina, we talk about it all the time. Those goofy early kicks in Columbia. Yes. It never seems to go well for me. Did you Oklahoma, Texas last night? Mac and I talked about this on Tuesday. Who in the hell cleared John Mateer to play last week? Because he looked awful.
Terrible. That was terrible. You have no. And let's first off, just as treating the kids fairly, you don't do that, right? Of course, he's going to try to come back, but at some point, the coach has to protect the player from himself, right? And then from your bigger school picture, you have no SEC losses. I get this, your biggest rivalry, whatever. You have no SEC losses, right? One was not going to kill you unless it kills your best player. There was no sense in doing that, especially since their backup, escapes my name right, had already had one start before. And could it have gone worse with the backup than it went with Mateer? No, and I know that's hindsight, you can look at it. But we said this before, so it's not just hindsight. I never would have cleared him to play. Not in a game like that, not against a tough defense, not when the chance of just getting re-injured are greater than the chance of something spectacular. And you're ruining your big picture to try to get this one game. It didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. Texas A&M, Arkansas. Are the Hogs froggy enough to pull one here?
They definitely are. I mean, they're but a couple fumbles away from having, 2 extra wins.
And for those of you, sorry, man, for those watching, yes, I called them the Frogs. They don't get to get called the Hogs until they're not a freaking dumpster fire. So you can continue.
Yes. No, I absolutely think they are. I think they're probably still a little bit overlooked, but they have an offense that can get to you. They don't have a defense, but they have an offense that can put up some points. They will be springy enough to I don't remember if we're even picking this game, but they're still a scary team to me. So I wouldn't want to travel to Arkansas this time of year, especially when your head's checking out all this other stuff. It's hard to get kids to get focused on the Arkansas team that just fired their coach, So I think they've got enough in the tank to at least make it interesting.
Ole Miss, Georgia, I think the touchdown and a half, the 7.5 point spread here just screams Ole Miss to me.
It doesn't it? That is a wild, am I just falling into a trap if I took Ole Miss? And I was reading CBS Sports. They actually had this, the very least, take Ole Miss the first half because Georgia really doesn't start playing till the second half. So that was one of their best.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to write that down. Keep talking. I'm gonna take notes.
No, it's whatever
true.
Kirby is doing. I still think he's the best team in the best coach in the SEC. But we're not getting any traction. Like what we think of with Alabama's defense on the first drive, that's Georgia for the first half. Sometime Auburn could have been really bad if other stuff hadn't happened. But Ole Miss takes the first half. They're definitely motivated, and then it's up to adjustments. That one could still go either way.
Could be Lane's coming out party. Every year we talk about it. I talked about it yesterday. It's every year. Mac gets sucked in by the Jacksonville Jaguars every year. And I get sucked in by the Lane train every year. And it's almost at this exact weekend every year. I'm like, damn you, Lane, you just burned me again. Like, I think this might be, honestly, his best team he's ever had at Ole Miss.
Yeah, which is funny because he has questions at quarterback and who would start if both of them were 100% healthy. Yeah. He had Jackson Dart, and he had what we thought was his best team last year. I was on record saying beginning of this year, I thought he missed his best chance. And now you've got a revolving door at quarterback, and now this is your best chance? Because even dropping this game, you still only have one loss. And the two other undefeated teams you don't even play, at Texas A&M and Alabama, you don't even play them. So as long as you get to 10-2, you can miss the SEC championship game, be firmly in the playoffs, and still lose to Georgia and then whoever else. So it's kind of, this is your shot, Lane. Don't lose any stupid games, and you're in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas and Kentucky. I think Kentucky's defense is game to get under Arch's skin here. I don't know if I trust their offense enough to
not at all
take Kentucky here, but I don't trust Texas to cover 13.5 points either.
That's a weird one because I could very easily see 17-3 for Texas just because of they're going to get. I mean, half of Kentucky's but team is already scouting basketball stuff, and if you go on their broadcast, they're already doing basketball. Like where are they really at right now? My biggest problem with Kentucky is one. Yeah, remember when they had that fight years ago? Oh, it was a football school. You're like, come on.
They might need a new coach here at the end of the year too.
He is the longest tenured coach in the SEC.
Crazy, isn't it?
It's
crazy.
He said, "We don't care what you do. You can stay here as long as you want."
Yep. As long as you don't give the Georgia defensive driving school classes, we're good. You just keep yourself fine there. Last one in the SEC tomorrow as far as top 25 teams go. Mizzou finally plays a road game. Hey, congrats, guys. Welcome to the middle of October.
How is that possible, by the way?
The SEC schedule will never make sense to me, and I know it doesn't make sense to either one of you guys either.
No. That is wild. 6 games in a row at home. That I've never seen. And a bye in there. What was the bye for? Like, you were just chilling at the house. So,
yeah.
And what is that? They're traveling to Auburn, and Auburn's a small favorite, right?
It's actually flipped to Missouri -1.5. It's basically a pick.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, do you trust Auburn to put up points? Right?
No.
Like, if Mizzou scores 2 touchdowns, that game's over. Right? I don't know how you keep pairing an all-world defense with a 0 at quarterback, but that's what. So you mentioned the other guys, Hugh Freeze. We've got Auburn guys coming on our program saying, like, win or lose. Like, she's like, I don't want the team to lose, but I do want them to lose so he gets fired. I feel bad for the kids, but he's got to go. I mean, Freeze is a dead man walking, right? If Napier gets a pink slip, you got to let Freeze go at the same time. But this is the type of game they sneak up and win just to prolong it for another week. That's the Auburn way.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the SEC right now, Florida's going to be open. Arkansas is already open. Auburn, it's more weeks that go by, the more it sounds open. And then the Kentucky thing, I think this might be the end of the line for them.
Do you think Arkansas is open, or do you think it's just Petrino's to take if he wants it?
I think if Arkansas is smart, it needs to be open.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a name out here, and I didn't get a chance to ask the guys this, but one of your former quarterbacks actually said this week. And Greg McElroy. The guy that he would look at if he was Penn State is Pat Fitzgerald. The old Northwestern coach that was ran out of town. Not, nothing, no wrongdoings found. I think Pat Fitzgerald is a guy that if I'm an Arkansas, if I'm a Florida, if I'm any of these top 5 or 6 jobs that are open, I want to have a conversation with Pat Fitzgerald. That dude did more with less at Northwestern over a long period of time. And now that he's been absolved of any wrongdoing, I think Pat Fitzgerald would fit a lot of these open programs, especially these SEC programs.
Yeah. I would like to fit better at Penn State and staying up north than I would sending him to Florida. That just seems like a huge kind of leap, I guess, to me. And maybe it's probably my SEC bias in it. But no, I think that you're talking about, hey, you know how you had no checkbook over there? You just had whatever cash was in your pocket at Northwestern?
Pretty much.
There's an actual checkbook
yeah.
to go to any of those SEC schools. Yes. And I think, Florida, you've got to nail this hire. I mean, you already know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So
needed to nail the last three hires. And that's the other thing, too, is Scott Strickland is seemingly – the dude's a great fundraiser. Hey, look at these new plans for the renovated Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. You're not distracting us from what the issue is here, Scott.
Yes.
Cool, you raised money. You got the new football facility built. You got the baseball stadium done. Now we want you to hire winners.
Yes.
And it was, one of my buddies texted me this the other day. It was really cool when Florida cared about football. And I looked at it and it kind of bothered me for a second. And then I went, no, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. It's got, I mean, you're falling further and further behind in the SEC, right? You're a storied, somewhere Tim Tebow is spinning over in his grave, even though he's not even dead. But you have the resources. You're in Florida. There's several kids you can get just by going, hey, you want to come to Florida? There's just no excuse to be this far behind, as they're falling, especially with Georgia as a main rival. And they're, no matter what happened, they're surviving this attrition. So something has to change. And yeah, it should have been done quicker. It's the problem with a lot of these jobs is like with Napier last year. You win a couple and there's a little bit of false hope and people try to forget every bad thing you've done to keep you around. And that's what Napier did last week. Oh man, glad we won them a couple. And maybe if you'd been healthy, we beat Georgia. And sometimes that's the worst thing that can happen. If you're not working, I'm not going to say bad coach, but if you're not working out at the spot, sometimes it's just time to go. Remember that.
Shut up, Vegas Mac, you buffoon. If you're the Florida incoming coach, though, this is what you're dealing with next year. Florida Atlantic, the Campbell Camels, at Auburn, at Florida State, at Kentucky, at Mizzou, at Texas, home for Vandy, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Obviously, the neutral site game, which is actually going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium next year against Georgia, as they build the stadium of the future in Jacksonville. So it's not quite as daunting as it has been over the past couple years, mainly because you're playing Florida Atlantic and Campbell on your non-conference games. But you still got a trip to Texas, which the first time they went to Texas was a disaster. You're going to Florida State, likely might have a new coach. So the schedule, I mean, you read that schedule and it still sounds tough when you go through because of the SEC schedule, but this might actually be their easiest schedule compared to the last couple of years. But yeah, you can't miss on this hire. You can't.
And that Rod always says that's one of their problems is the schedule. So it gets a little easier, but it's not a 10, it's now a 9. So is that what we're saying? So no,
I might have to make a trip out there on September 12th for the Campbell Camels and the Florida Gators.
Let us know if you're coming through, man. Stop by. We'll have a drink.
Well, again, no Alabama on the schedule, for Christ's sakes.
But we get you at least within 4 years, you have to play everybody, right? So somewhere in the next, I haven't looked at all of our schedules, but everybody's supposed to meet everybody in the next 4.
I think it's 2028 when they play Bama. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to do this.
When we're down to only 2 conferences at that point.
Yeah, see, in this site that I'm on, it's still screwed up because on the 2028 schedule was when they were supposed to come out here to play Arizona State. I'm pretty sure that's one of the games that got bounced. They were supposed to play Colorado and Arizona State on that schedule. So, is what it is. Final question for you: how many teams were getting in out of the SEC?
I'm gonna say 4. Even though every week ESPN has like 5 in and a couple more with work to do, the fact that Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama don't have to play each other probably plays into that, helps out with the 5. But I'm just going to say 4 because it seems like the safe pick. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the 4. I think you get. I mean, the way it's shaking out, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Alabama could all make it, but does that mean it's a Georgia-Texas fight? Before that, and then there's somebody I'm forgetting, and there's my 6.
If you went just off the top 4 right now, it'd be Ole Miss, A&M, Bama, and Georgia. Your next line after the top 4 is LSU, Tennessee, Texas, Mizzou, Oklahoma, Vandy.
Yeah. I mean, all of us have warts, so it's kind of none of us is dominating. It feels like every week something could happen, like you're waiting for Ole Miss to let you down. The whole Texas A&M nation is waiting for them to let them down. Mm-hmm. Alabama hasn't played a complete game. Georgia is basically rising from the dead every week to get their wins. You could almost just see this conference beat each other up, play through, and then are we about to have a disaster in the playoffs? Or teams going to step up? It's going to be interesting to the end. I just want Bama to get in the playoffs, and everybody leaves Caleb DeBoer alone. So that's my thing.
He is Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast. Make sure you go follow him on Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it these days, YouTube. What's coming up this weekend?
We're trying to figure out if I'm going to get to this game or not. I asked Raj about streaming, fourth quarter of the Tennessee game. Like I said, he said not if it's close. So we will be on sometime Saturday night. And then Sunday night, our friends at Roll Tide Nation, I'll be hopping in with them as well. I know you can see another preview tonight, Bama Blueprint. I'll be on there as well. But, man, I don't know. Do I buy a cigar or not? That's the big thing. I've never bought one. So if I buy one now, is that being a little too presumptuous? Do I jinx the whole thing? That's my.
I know who I'm going to blame if Bama loses.
See what I mean? Oh, I don't know.
My brother, as always, we appreciate you. I know I'll talk to you a bunch this weekend.
Man. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast. Nobody knows the SEC as well as those guys do. Make sure you get on over and check them out. Baseball, we've got a couple of games to finish up today before we get up on out of here. Blue Jays and Mariners, it's game number 5 from Seattle. Kevin Gausman and Bryce Miller on the bump. In this series, we've talked about it a bunch. Goofy. Road dominance in the series, as we've seen. 19 runs, 7 homers, a 370 average for the Jays in their 2 games up in Seattle. The Mariners, 13 runs, 4 home runs. 9 of their 13 runs came off of the home run. Road teams won every game. Does that make you want to take Toronto tonight? I don't know. I think this one's going to be interesting. It'll be electric up there. Mariners fans, they're going through it right now. They've seen this song and dance before. A lot of Jays fans in the building last night as compared to in Game 3. You can actually still get a ticket to get in tonight for as low as $88. So a little bit of apathy, if you will, from the Mariners fans, and I think you can understand that. Mac and I were talking yesterday, and he brought this up. He was speaking with a friend of his, and when you go back to, the Game 3, the 13-4 game, and how long they left George Kirby in, and the thing with Toronto is, why would you let their bats get hot? And this was the conversation. Again, I'm the messenger here relaying it, but I think there's something to definitely say about that, because they did leave Kirby in. They did let him get beat up to the tune of 8 earned runs on 8 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts in the 4 innings. And then, Toronto comes back and they balance it back the next night, last night, and put another thumping on them 8-2. And last night you saw Dan Wilson have a quicker hook on Luis Castillo, and to no avail. I'm really interested to see the chess match here. Do the Jays go back to Toronto up 3-2? I'm going to lean on the Mariners side. That's right, Mac. They did. They let the Jays get hot, and that's the thing. Can Seattle continue to score early and often? I think the pitching matchup tonight is interesting. Miller's been really good in the postseason, as has Gausman. I think the thing you see with Gausman that makes me a little bit not concerned, but why I'd probably lean a little towards the Mariners side here. And again, all the pressure's on the Mariners. And their fans are feeling it too. But Gausman, it seems like he's not quite as dominant as he was a few years ago. Scattering more hits, walking a little bit more, letting some traffic get on the base pass. So I'm interested to see how he pitches tonight. The over-under's at 8.5. I definitely would lean towards the over, and I think I lean more on the side of the Mariners tonight to get it back to Toronto and go. And we've talked about this a lot, and Mac brings this up right here. It's a better matchup for the World Series, Toronto versus LA or Seattle versus LA. I think Mac is waving the white flag officially on his Brewers, the last team that he backed from the start this year. And they set it up yesterday with Aaron Ashby, and Pat Murphy's hesitation is how exposed his bullpen's been to this entire Dodgers lineup because they've had to do things in the ways that they've had to do them. Tonight, Jose Quintana and Shohei Ohtani on the mound. That is the later of the two games tonight, 5:38. Jays and Mariners coming up here in a little less than 2.5 hours first pitch. But Quintana and Ohtani, Quintana only 3 innings pitched so far in the postseason. 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. The Milwaukee bats are about as ice cold as you could possibly get them. And this was the concern with Milwaukee is could they sustain the hitting that carried them through most of the season? I'm torn in what I want to see. There is that intrigue to me of seeing the Dodgers in the Blue Jays because of how allegedly close Shohei Ohtani was to being a Blue Jay. So that's interesting. Maybe does Bo Bichette get to play in the World Series? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I really would love it for the fans of Seattle. Seattle is such an incredible sports city. Got a chance to experience a getaway game with the Red Sox and the Mariners a couple years ago with some friends up there when we were up visiting. And even then, it was, I think I think either way, the Jays or Seattle against LA is intriguing because the Jays and Seattle both have great pitching staffs. LA has been, we've talked about this a bunch of times, LA has been nails since September. You sign like 7 high-quality pitchers knowing that you just need them to be ready by October, and that's exactly what the Dodgers did. And those guys have been fantastic for them. When you can go through a series and really 2 rounds of the playoffs, if we're being honest with each other here, you can go through 2 rounds of the playoffs when Shohei Ohtani has been really a non-factor at the plate. $158, 641 OPS, and they're winning. These Brewers have been a pain in the ass all year, and they cannot score to save their lives right now. 3 runs in 3 games. A lot of people talked about the Brewers beating the Dodgers all 6 times they played them this year. But again, this Dodgers team was built for success in October. And as their staff got healthy and as they went down the stretch, Dave Roberts is able to pull all the right strings because he's got so many starting pitching, so many starting pitchers. Their bullpen has not been great. 2-1, 5-1, 3-1. Do or die time for the Brewers. A great season, another fantastic season for the Brewers. But I think it comes to an end tonight, and that series doesn't go back. And then LA is sitting here with a long layoff, probably, because I think the American League Championship Series, I can very easily see it going 7. So how does that affect the Dodgers? Because if we drag out the ALCS Let's assume that the NLCS ends today. If we drag out the ALCS to its max, we're talking about Monday for Game 7. World Series starts Friday, October 24th. So if the Dodgers finish the job today, they're going to have a full 7 days off. Great, because they can set up their entire rotation however they want it for the World Series. But it is another long layoff for a team that's already had a long layoff. Now, you would think with the Dodgers' depth, no big deal. But that's going to be another interesting dynamic. Does the ALCS go the full 7? Are the Mariners going to get backdoor swept, which I think is the other possibility? Very, very interesting stuff. 3:08 first pitch from Seattle today. 5:38 first pitch from Los Angeles. I think the Dodgers finish it off today in a sweep. And I do honestly think the ALCS goes 7, and I think that's fantastic because I think that those are two very evenly matched teams. And if you play the trends, then, hey, good for Seattle. If it's road team dominance in this series, then it should work out in Seattle's favor. But I'm very interested to see how quick the hook is from Dan Wilson this afternoon. And I think that's going to go a long way to determining what happens. I think Seattle gets backdoor swept or the thing goes 7 and flip a coin. Which team do you think has a better chance to beat the Dodgers is really the question you got to ask yourself. Because the Dodgers, as we knew at the beginning of the year, are inevitable, and here they are knocking on the doorstep for a chance to go back-to-back. So plenty of fun stuff. Again, on our social channels tonight, Big Mac kickoff game. It'll be Ole Miss and Georgia. I'll have Notre Dame and USC. TJ After Dark will have the Holy War. 5 for 500. We've got an interesting group this week with a massively high payday. I think this is the highest paying 5 for 500 we've rolled out there. And I'm going to be honest with you. With the group that we put together, I can't really see why it pays so much, but I'm not going to complain if it hits. This would be a hell of a week. Is this the week? This would be a hell of a week for us to get that first one. Sunday spread coming off of 4-1 last week. And then Sunday Night Football, Mac will have his exact thoughts on the Niners-Falcons game on Sunday night. Mac and I are splitting the Monday night games. He's got Bucks-Lions. I've got Texans-Seahawks. So plenty of stuff on our social channels. Follow along there at Mike Arana Show everywhere but Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Special thanks to Herb from the Herb N Rodg Podcast for joining me today. Big weekend in the SEC, big weekend in college football. Man, what a time to be alive and be a sports fan. So for everybody behind the scenes, for my two co-pilots, TJ and Vegas Mac, I'm Mike. We will talk to you in this form Tuesday night, 5:30 on the West Coast. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.